Good evening, everyone. It is so good to have you here. I'm so excited for this session of Black Men Speak Up. I'm just going to give everyone a couple moments to settle in and get themselves comfortable because, as you know, Black Men Speak Up always has so much to say and so many things to go through. So I always want all of you to be super duper comfortable. And as you're settling in, I always love to know who's in the room with me. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and just say who you are. And for those of all who may not know who I am, my name is Karen Carrington. I am a talk show host. I am an author. I'm a mental health advocate. And I am a certified personal development trainer, and I am your moderator for tonight. So I'm so excited to have you. I see you all in the chat saying who you are. Feel free to say where you're from. Hi, Dylan. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad that we're all here. And what we're going to do is, you know what? Even though we're here to have like really great open dialogue, there's just a couple of guidelines that we want to follow just to make sure that everyone knows exactly what the expectations are, what we can do, what we can't do. So what I'm going to do is just ask the production team to bring up the guidelines so we can go over them together if that's okay with you guys. So first and foremost, if you could kindly always keep your mics on mute at all times throughout the session. And please be reminded that all sessions are recorded. If you want to leave your videos on or off, that's completely up to you. I absolutely love when they're on because I love seeing your faces. That's my favorite part. Also, some of the content may be triggering, so I just wanted to give you that heads up. We have some different stories and journeys at Black Men Speak Up, so just want you to be mindful of that. And one thing that's super duper 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 important is we always want to keep all comments community friendly. And what I mean by community friendly is I mean that it's a respectful place. We don't always have to agree. I know we all have different opinions. However, this forum, we don't accept any discrimination, judgment, hate comments, any conflict, controversy. If there's something you don't agree with, this isn't the place to voice that. This session is called Black Men Speak Up for that reason. It's a safe forum for Black men to speak up. So as much as I love when us ladies come together and we have so much fun stuff to say, ladies, this forum isn't for us to speak. However, it's an awesome, awesome forum where we get to listen and learn. So you're more than welcome, ladies, to put comments in the chat that are supportive, but anything that's not supportive won't be welcome. And that also goes for the men too. Anything that isn't community friendly, what we'll have to do in this session is just politely remove you from the Zoom session. That being said, our guests and our panelists and share stories. So what I ask is that we do not give them advice and we don't give them counseling. They're not here for that. They're here to share their story. So as much as we care and we want to help, we do have a therapist, Shane, on site, and that is his role and his role only. Also, we don't want to share any products, links, services in the chat. I know we all have things that we want to sell and share, and we have all these great resources that we want to share. However, they are not to go in the chat whatsoever. Also, as much as I love talking to you guys, when I'm streaming live and I'm hosting, I want to be the best host I can be. So if you could refrain from messaging me, we could always chat on the side after the session. I would absolutely love that, just not during. Also, due to time constraints, if there are comments in the chat that I happen to miss, I will try my best, or Shane, if it's directed for Shane or Roots, to take them after the session. So if you guys are good with those guidelines, I'm good with that, and we're ready to go. All good? Awesome, all good. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit about Black Men Speak Up for those of you who might be new to the session. Black Men Speak Up is a program run by Roots Community Services, and Roots Community Services has been providing programs and services for families in the region of Peel since 1985. And what they do is they empower clients, they inspire clients, they provide support to find solutions to overcome the challenges they may face. So what we do is we have complementary services for men who identify as Black, and the therapist is Shane. There's ongoing programs. If we could just bring up his slide, what I always encourage is this is a great time to take a picture of that information. Shane is there for you guys. That is his information. Complementary therapy for men who identify as Black, and other programs throughout the year. So he is there at your service. Shane, we just thank you in advance for everything that you do. And the executive director, we have Angela Carter, who's the executive director of Roots Community Services. So that being said, we have so much to cover. June is such an amazing month. So many cool things are happening for Black men in the month of June, and I don't want to miss any of them. I always want to acknowledge the Black men in the room and celebrate you. So first of all, I want to celebrate, there's Juneteenth that happened. That was really massive for 2021. Juneteenth honors the end of slavery in the United States, and it affects all of us. And on June 17th, 2021, Biden has officially made it a federal holiday. And it also reminds us that there's still a lot of work to do with equality, decolonization, and justice. So I know that this is a time from pain, and we can go to progress and to possibility and promise. Also, what we celebrate in June, it is Pride Month. So for all the Black men from the LGBT community, this is a month where we celebrate you as well. And for those of you who might not know, back in 1969, the police raided Stonewall Inn in New York. And it was a time when transgender and the gay community, it was illegal for them to work in bars, and the bar was raided. So the first parade was in 1970 when they fought back, and that was a time where going forward, a lot of other communities started to have pride parades as well to celebrate the diversity and the LGBT communities, acknowledge their history, their hardships they've endured, and the progress that has been made. So we just celebrate you as well. And also, June is Father's Day. So I just want to celebrate all the fathers. We appreciate you. We acknowledge you, those who are fathers, those who aspire to be fathers, stepfathers, grandfathers, fathers who are adopting. We just acknowledge you. And what we want to do on this session is we want to give away from Roots Community Services a $100 gift card to a father that we just want to bless. And so if you could just hashtag in the chat, Father's Day Matters. Black men, we just acknowledge you, fathers, for everything you do, for showing up for your children, for being there. Oftentimes that may go unrecognized, and we want to make sure to acknowledge you for that. So if you just want to drop that in the chat, and we will randomly pick one of you and reach out to you after the session and bless you with that. Even though Father's Day has passed, we never, ever, ever want that to go unnoticed. Mother's Day is always a big celebration, and we want to make sure that Father's Day is just as uplifted. So we want to make sure to acknowledge you for that. Also, June is Men's Health Month. And that's something that we really want to touch on today is men's health. And not just physical health, but mental health, spiritual health, emotional health. All these things are super important. So research shows that Black men, sometimes it's more reactive, like they may go to the doctor only when they see something may be wrong. And what we want to help you with today is more of maintenance. So not so reactive, but a little more proactive. So that being said, I just want to remind you that Black men have the shortest lifespan in all groups and gender. And so we want to fix that or help you with that today. what we're going to do is start with the inner work, because once the inner work is taken care of, then the outer work will all fall together. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a video, and it's a video where we talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is a key factor to overall health. So what the production team will do is bring up a video. It's a 2-minute clip on forgiveness.
Speaking of forgiveness, and you had mentioned during the show that there was someone who had shot your cousin, Omar. Have you forgiven him?
So it's funny that you asked that, because I would say, so I'm working on a book. I have a number of projects I'm working on, and one of them is a self-help book from myself. And one of the stories I talk about was Omar's shooting. And so at the time when I was writing it, I did reach out to Omar's sisters, and I did ask them, have you guys ever forgiven this individual or individuals? We don't know, right? And so it was a question I had to ask myself, and it was the first time I had asked myself that. So a number of years has gone by, and I would say that I really received a lot more clarity over the last 2 years of really working on that book. I came across a question that somebody asked: do you think that people are doing the best they can at the moment that they're doing it? And I ultimately came to the answer of yes. I do believe that people, even in the most difficult of circumstances, and I think about that individual or individuals who killed Omar, who took him away from us. I don't know who they are, but I can see people in that circumstance because I've been in the streets, and a lot of those people are broken. As we talked about, a lot of those people are coming from circumstances that they believe that's the only way that they can handle themselves. And so because of that, because of their upbringing, I think that they believed at that moment they were doing the best that they could.
With what they had.
For me to believe that, I think ultimately I have to come around to forgiveness. Because in the end, I know what tough can feel like. And I know that if I went down that route, there's a lot of things I could have went on a path of destruction, right? And at that time, the way I was feeling, that was the best I could do at that time. That's what I would have believed. But because of the conversation I had with that individual that changed my mindset and put me on the path I am today, that really is the only difference. And so I do come down to the conclusion of, yes, I can forgive. It was difficult to come to. But ultimately, absolutely. And even if it's not for those individuals, it's for myself. Because when you're hanging on to that, like they say, when you are upset, when you are, it's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die, right? When you let go of that and you come to the place of forgiveness, it's just like a weight coming off your shoulders. So absolutely, at this point in time, I could say absolutely, I have forgiven that individual or individuals who took my cousin away from us.
Amen. Powerful.
You're free, brother.
So powerful.
That episode I did with Jeff Martin and losing his cousin was very challenging. And I'm going to have a further discussion about forgiveness with my very, very good friend all the way from Maryland. We do a lot of work together. We do a lot of projects together. We have been doing things forever together. So Dr. Lawrence, are you here with me to discuss forgiveness?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Dr. Lawrence, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to ask your opinion, and guys in the chat, feel free to chime in. What's your take on forgiveness and health? Just the way Jeff, and you're a good friend of Jeff as well with me. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree with what you said earlier, that forgiveness is a very integral part of especially mental health, and especially when it comes to men, because a lot of times we have problems forgiving, and it adds to the stresses of life that we as Black men already have, and unforgiveness just adds to that. I know it turns your hair gray pretty quickly as well.
You don't have any gray hair though, so I'm confused.
Well, I don't. That's because I've forgiven everybody. So I don't, I don't do the gray hair thing anymore. To be honest with you, I think that forgiveness is one of those things that um, we're taught to do to others, but we're not taught to do to ourselves or for ourselves. So self-forgiveness is a very important part of forgiving. Not only us forgiving other people, but us forgiving ourselves. And again, even in religious circles, we're taught to forgive others, but then we'll say, well, Jesus or Allah or God is going to forgive you, or we pray for forgiveness all the time. We don't understand and we don't know that we are capable of forgiving ourselves. And that is total liberation, is when you can forgive yourself. I can wait on somebody outside of me, whether it's the deity, whether it's this or whether it's that person, to forgive me, and it may or may not happen. But once I started to learn how to forgive myself, my whole life just, it just opened up. And self-forgiveness is like, oh my God, it's just so important. For every little thing, I practice self-forgiveness.
And I see Crooks, our good friend from Indiana, totally agrees with you, completely agrees with
Crooks,
you.
that's my buddy right there.
Right?
Yeah.
And
to an extent.
I love you too.
I love you too, Doc. You're my man.
I forgive you for that statement. I'm like Barry White. I practice what I preach.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I love you too so much. And I'm going to jump on what Crooks just said when we're talking about forgiveness and what he was saying. Is there, in your opinion, these are all opinions, why is it challenging for Black men to forgive?
I think it's challenging for Black men to forgive because there are people who are still left on this earth who've done things to us that it's hard to forgive. For the most part, I think that we've been brought up in that. It's been ever since, we came from the other side of the ocean, we had a reason to hold on to things because of how traumatic, from slavery up until even today, to racism, institutional racism, all those things. It gives us, there's so many things going on in the life of a Black man that it gives us reasons not to forgive. We have so many reasons not to forgive that it makes it just hard and it makes it difficult and it makes it tough to forgive. And again, remember what I said earlier, we're not actually trained to forgive from the inside out. We're trained to forgive from the outside in. And there's so many things on the outside that keeps us from forgiving. But we have to learn how to forgive from the inside out. Once I learn how to be a forgiving person, and I forgive so much for so long, and I entertain the habit of that, forgiveness for me is an overflow. It's something that I do so often that when you come to me, you catch the overflow. In other words, some people say, "Do you forgive me?" And I tell them, I didn't hold it against you in the first place. So I've learned to detach from certain things even before they make it to me. So I have no reason to forgive.
And you touched on something about Black men have been through so much that it's harder to forgive, and rightfully so. What advice would you give a Black man who's still dealing with that, who has been discriminated against, who's faced racism, who's faced it and still does today in the workplace, in his own relationships? Sometimes it's considered, when you forgive, like a sign of weakness. And that's not easy for men, especially Black men.
Yeah, it is not. And I think it's just a mindset thing, with us as Black men, that we have to learn that forgiveness is healthy and it has to be attached to something. Forgiveness can't be attached to the thing that's actually hurting you. It has to be attached to something different. To say to me, it has to be attached to something positive. Usually when we talk about forgiveness, it's attached to racism, it's attached to slavery, it's attached to somebody calling you the N-word or somebody calling you a boy, something like that. But I try to attach, forgiveness to something more positive and something different. And if I lash out at somebody because of something they said to me, then I work on forgiving myself. Sometimes when people say negative things to me, whether they're a racist thing, I ask people, is that the best you got? Or is that the best you can do? Or is that your favorite word? Because that word doesn't really do anything for anybody for the most part. So I said, you need to forgive yourself. I tell people you need to forgive yourself for using the word. I'm not mad at you for using it. You can say whatever you want, but there's something going on inside of you that causes you to say that, and you want it to trigger me. But it's probably not going to happen because I've heard that word for 59 years. So it doesn't trigger me as much as it triggers you.
Mhm.
I've had friends that, I had a lady of a different color. We were riding, together, and somebody pulled in front of her, and it just happened to be a Black person. And she said, right there, I was right there. She says, I can't believe it's that N, pulled out in front of me.
Mhm.
And I asked her, I said, what if that had been a person of a different color? What would you have said? And she's paused for a moment because she's never thought about it. And she said, well, I probably would have called them an MF. I said, well, why can't I be an MF? I said, I'd rather be an MF than to be an NIGG as far as that's concerned, because an MF is not on the same level as what you're calling this, what you're calling this Black guy. So I look at people when they do things like that they need to forgive themselves and they need to look inward. I don't look at myself when people say things like that. I always look at that person because that's their issue. I don't have any issues with, with that, which means I don't have any issues with forgiving people. I can forgive her. I say, I forgive you for saying it, as long as you work on yourself and start to forgive yourself, for doing it. I think Jesus worked in that way all the time. The lady who was caught in the act of adultery, he said, go and sin no more. Go work on yourself. Don't worry about the people who are trying to stone you. They'll be okay. Go work on yourself. The guy who was at the pool of Bethesda for 23 years, waiting on the stirring of the water. He says, if you want to be made whole, do what? Pick up your bed and walk. So you have to forgive yourself first. And once you forgive yourself, you start to go on a path of righteousness. You start to go on a path that nobody can stop you. And most people who are hung up with this unforgiveness stuff, they just need to forgive themselves. I forgive myself for hanging on to these stories that I've been told for so long.
I remember that.
Myself for hanging on to things that are not mine. And most of the stuff is just other people's opinions. Even racism and all that stuff is other people's opinion. I'm of the mind again, everybody has the right to their own opinion, but everybody's opinion don't have the right to own me.
Woo!
Everybody has the right to their own opinion, but everybody's opinion doesn't have the right to own me. So I'm okay. I'm like, you say something like that, I just, I was in Sam's once, and this is a true story, Sam's store, and a white man did use the N word. And I told him, I said to him, say it again. And he said, he used the N word. And I said, say it louder. And he said it louder. I said, I bet you won't say it louder. He said it louder. And I just walked away. I just left him there with all the other people just kind of looking at him, being stupid, because that's about how stupid, it is.
You said something. You said something that I caught on to. Well, I know you're 59, but I think some other people might be a little shocked that you're 59 because there's something about you that you have this secret sauce of 59. And that's why it sounds like when you were saying, oh, let him say the N word louder, let him do that. Like you've just been there, done that. This is like, you
frisbees, pencils, mugs, certificates. It's all
like, you and I are grandparents, and some people ask, like, how do we have that secret sauce? So from a Black man's perspective, what is your secret sauce to looking so amazing, being so youthful, being a grandfather, going through this journey and still going on like you're.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things, and it starts with what we were talking about earlier. It starts with forgiveness and forgiving yourself. Another thing I practice is detachment, not attaching myself to things that can cause me to stress. I've had cars, I've had houses, I've had this, I've had that, so I'm not attached to those things anymore. The things that actually weigh, weigh the most on you. I'm big into self-care. And self-care to me is is taking care of myself, whether it's going to the gym, and working out. My trainer just texted me a minute ago while we're on this.
Where are you? I'm with Carrington.
I know, it's like I'm on a Carrington show. Self-care is very, very important to me. A part of self-care for me is self-love. I had to learn to love myself because I went through this stage in my life where I was able to love everybody else about everything else, but I wasn't able to love myself. And I really had to work on that. And I had to work on that for years because I was caring about everybody else and not, it wasn't I was letting myself go or anything like that, but I had more love for other people than I had for myself.
Why
and then
is
the
that?
third one is probably self-respect. The third one is self-respect. So self-care, self-love, self-respect.
Self-respect, self-care, self-love, respect. And why? You said you couldn't love yourself. Like, I love you so much. I can't picture why you wouldn't love yourself. We all love you.
Remember now, a lot of people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. And that's the thing. Somebody may come with you and say, oh, Karen, you got it together, you got this, and you may not be able to pay your rent right now. You may not be loving yourself, but you live in this fabulous, neighborhood, and they think that you got it all together. You may be driving this car, and the repo man is like following you around, waiting on you to park it so he can, so that he can pick it up. So you're not. There are many times in your life when you're not loving yourself, and other people are loving on you, and you can still love other people at the same time. If they're about to pull your car, you can still be at Mama Jean's house, waving at everybody. Hey, girl, how you doing? Yeah, and your car is about to be taken. So there are certain things about us that people love about us that we can't see. People say, well, you're very articulate, you're very smart, you're very this. I can say I know it, but they're looking at me from the outside, and I'm looking at myself from the inside. And a lot of times I can't see all that they're seeing. And it causes us not to love ourselves as much as other people love us. And I had to reverse that. I had to love myself before others could actually love me, or before I even receive love from others. I want you to love me for what I love about myself. And that's been a big lesson for me. I love that I'm funny. I love that I'm playful. I love that I have a sense of humor. I love that I'm loving. I love this. I love that. And all those things, I made a list of all the things I love about myself. And I introduce people to those things. And I like people to love me for what I love about myself. And that has made all the difference in my life.
I love that. And you had, I have one more. There was something you say all the time that I love so much. It was that story about your son and forgiveness. And because we're talking about, I love that story. Can you just share that with everyone? And that, because I believe it's a life lesson for forgiveness.
Yeah. My son, he was probably about 8 or 9 years old when this happened. He's 24 now. About 8 or 9 when it happened. But him and his sister, she's a couple of years older than he is, they got into a little civil rivalry. And they were having, a little heated discussion. They got a little physical, and I kind of broke him up. I was kind of heated up about it, and he went around me and came to the other side and kicked her, in the stomach. And I was like really heated up and really mad at that time. So he and I got into a real, a real father-son type of thing there. And so once that was over, I went back to my desk and I started to do some work and stuff. And about 30 minutes later, he came and he sat in my lap, like nothing had happened. And I looked at him and I'm like, look, dude, didn't I just bust you wide open, just just a little while ago? And he just turned and he just looked at me with the most beautiful brown eyes. And he said, Daddy, that was 30 minutes ago. And all I could do was cry. The tears just started streaming down my eyes because I'm like, in 30 minutes. I mean, it was just 30 minutes ago that I was just I was all heated up, like Black Hawk Down or something. I was really, 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 really upset with this little dude. And he had the nerve to come to me and sit in my lap and say, Daddy, that was 30 minutes ago. Can we start over? And ever since that day, I've taken that to heart. So when somebody do something to me, I try to forgive them in 30 minutes or less. Kind of like Domino's Pizza. We're going to get to you in 30 minutes or less, or else it's free. So after 30 minutes, whatever you did to me has gone cold. And I'm ready to do some stuff. Let's go out and have a good time. And that was one of the greatest lessons, boy, that I learned about, forgiveness. There are other lessons, that I learned about forgiveness that weren't as, that weren't as happy, about it. When I was coming up, when I was a young kid, I was molested by one of my family members, and it happened more than one time. I was a little fella, and it was my first introduction, to sex, and it happened to be with another male, and that was during a time when you couldn't talk about, those things. You couldn't verbalize those things, and you couldn't say anything. And it's one of those things that I had to suppress, for many years. I do know the person that that did it. I've seen him a couple times, not a lot of times. I've seen him a couple times, and throughout my years, I struggled with sexual identity. I struggled with in my marriage because of it, because I just wasn't sure, because of what happened. So this happened in the 70s. This molestation thing happened in the 70s. It was just in 2018 when I caught up with this family member and decided to call him. And I did, I got him on the phone, and I got his number from another relative, and I got him on the phone, and I told him, I said, hey, look, I'm just calling you to let you know that what you did, to me many years ago, really hurt me and really impacted, my life. And, he paused for a few minutes and he says, what are you talking about? And, I went into it, I told him exactly, what happened as though, as it happened, yesterday. And he says, well, I don't remember it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember it. Now, you can take that, a couple ways. And my thing with him is I wasn't really calling him to see what he would say. I wasn't even calling him for any reason. I just needed to get it off my chest. I needed to forgive myself for not being able to or not speaking up, throughout the years. I needed to forgive myself for blaming myself. I needed to forgive myself for taking ownership of something that wasn't mine. I needed to forgive myself for hurting others, along the way. They say hurt people, and I can say here that I've hurt some people unintentionally because I've always been, a good guy, but because of what happened and I couldn't verbalize it, it actually came out in my, in my actions. And it's just now, even on this show, that I'm able to talk about it. Even to my family members here, if they hear the show, this is probably the first time they probably, they probably heard about it. But it has really had a tremendous thing. But I was able to, first of all, when I made the call, I was able to forgive myself. That's the catalyst that caused me to make the call. And secondly, I was able to forgive him. And I was able to move on, and I was able to go forward. And that's the thing that brings me here today. But again, it started with me forgiving myself, saying, you know what, this is something that you didn't do to yourself. You should not be taking ownership of something that you don't have the title to. I didn't have the deeds to that house. I didn't have the title to that situation. Yet I was carrying it around and squatting in it and living in it like it was mine. I was a squatter in somebody else's house. Somebody else who owned that, somebody else who did that. I was a squatter for the last 50-something years. I was just squatting in that situation. And it's only now that I'm able to, to even verbalize and to even talk about it without bearing the shame of the situation itself. So that was my second act of, forgiveness. And it was, it was a tough thing. And I've learned so much about forgiveness through those two experiences. My cousin, he calls me, he calls me all the time. He calls me all the time, and we talk like nothing, like nothing's happened or nothing's going on. And that's true forgiveness. That's the fragrance of the violet that clings to the heel of the one who caused you the pain in the first place. And that's where I am.
Amen. I'm just seeing so many comments in the chat and people messaging me saying Michael saying forgive and move on. Life is too short. And Natasha saying power and strength. And what I love about what you shared is I always thank you so much when you share things with me and that this is a safe space to do so. And I'm inspired by that you're always able to, in some capacity, the forgiveness portion of the 30 minutes rule, or it's free, just taught a lot of us so much. You left us with tools and your vulnerability and your authenticity. And that's exactly what Black Men Speak Up is all about, is having Black men being able to own their stories and be brave about their stories, and knowing that by you sharing your story, I know there's a lot of Black men watching saying, wow, that happened to me too. And not necessarily meaning that they're at the stage where they have to forgive, but just being able to say, yeah, I get that happened to me. And that story has helped them plant that seed to start thinking that I don't need to own that. That isn't mine to keep. So I love you for sharing that. I am not done with you, Dr. Lawrence. We are not, we, even though we're moving on to something else, we are coming back to more of.
Well, Karen, I did hear you say that some people said, move on. Let all the people know in the chat that I have moved on and I'm a happy fella. There's nothing, it's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful world. I'm the most beautiful person that I know.
I know.
I love me. I respect me. All those things that, that used to be they're not, they're not here anymore.
Like you're good. Like
yeah, I'm
more
good.
than good. Like
I took the Gloria Gator approach. I will survive as long as I know how to love. I know I'll stay alive. I got all my love to live, all my life to live. I will. So I'm a survivor, and I'm loving it. I'm living it, and I'm good. I can teach other people, things like things like this, and that's what I do pretty much. The same thing.
yeah, you always
for
are.
men, to express themselves in a way that they can't, express themselves, in other places.
You got it. Thank
I
you.
used to be a chiropractor, and I always tell people I went from adjusting spines to adjusting minds, because most things start in the mind before they even get to the spine. So I stopped adjusting spines, and started adjusting minds, and I do mindset coaching and help people to get over, get over things like this.
Yes, I know. Thank you, and thank you for thank you for always sharing that you were able to move on, and moving on is possible. Thank you for that. Thank you. We'll come right back to you. Thank you. I'm seeing everyone in the chat. Thank you. What we're going to do is I want to move on to a really other good friend of mine. I always love having good friends here with me. So I have another good friend. Thank you, John. Thank you. That was powerful. Thank you, John. I want to move on to a good friend of mine, Derek Gordon, professional basketball player. We're talking about forgiveness today, and he is the first basketball player to come out being openly gay publicly, and he really had to deal with forgiveness, being bullied, being teased as a Black man, already having to deal with some of the stuff that we talked about, being Black, and on top of that, being gay and having to forgive. So I'm just going to show a little snippet of what Derek has endured, just so that you get to know him a little bit. And then right after that snippet, so that you could hear a little bit about his story, I'm going to play a little clip of a conversation that he and I had, that he wants to give you guys a shout out. I asked him personally, as my good friend, if he could just give the men a message of inspiration. So we'll just go down that path with Derek Gordon. If you guys want to go down that with me, that'd be greatly appreciated. So the production team will bring up some Derek Gordon for us.
Today, history was made as UMass sophomore guard Derek Gordon is the first openly gay college basketball player to come out publicly, and he had this to say on his Instagram account: "This is the happiest I have been in my 22 years of living. No more hiding." Hello and welcome inside our Campus Insider studios. I'm Shea Pepler, and joining me now is someone who knows Derek Gordon very well, founder and writer for Outsports.com, Sid Ziegler. And Sid, you recently did an interview with Derek, which can be found on Outsports.com.
But I don't want to look at it as, all right, I'm just gay. I play basketball too, and like, that's all I really want to worry about. It's just more of I'm just coming out so I can just be myself. But I had to look at it, I still play basketball, and that's what I care for the most. I just want to come out to the world and just continue on playing basketball and lead my team this year to another NCAA tournament.
What was his frame of mind, and where was he at emotionally after coming out to his teammates?
After 4 years of feeling depression and living in fear, his emotion, he had trouble describing it. And it was his emotion. He was very happy. I mean, we spent a couple dinners together. We went out to a club, and he was just looking to celebrate, because that's really what felt like kind of the first day of the rest of his life in New York. We were there with You Can Play's Wade Davis and Anthony Nicodemo, a couple of people who he surrounded himself with as confidants and advisors. So, he was in a celebratory mood. He was happy, and he felt like he tweeted, he's as happy as he's ever been in his life.
Yeah, well, he's been receiving support from his teammates via social media. Zach Coleman tweeted out, "Your sexual preference isn't a factor when it comes to winning games. With that being said, I support my teammate brother, Derek Gordon." Seth Berger tweeted, "DG is my brother, and like a brother, he'll have my support through anything and everything." Sid, you've covered many stories involving gay athletes. What advice do you have for Derek?
Well, one of the pieces of advice that I gave him was really about being confident and full of love with his team. His team, when they just thought he was gay, teased him a little bit and sent him in a bit of a depression last autumn. He even considered quitting basketball. And now he really needs to bring confidence and love to the very teammates who made it tough for him to be gay and to be around the team, some of the guys who refused to shower with him. So yeah, I think that's the biggest piece right now, that going forward, just he's full of joy, and to let that joy show, and with his teammates to really kind of move past what happened last year. It's a new team, it's a new day for him, it's a new day for all of them, and just bring that confidence and love to his relationships with them now.
Well, Sid, moving forward, both on and off the court, Derek will have the spotlight on him now. Do you think he made the right decision?
Yeah, of course. It's always the right decision to come out when someone is ready, and whether it be to their teammates or a coach or friends, family members, or to come out publicly. It's always the right decision. People will always question the timing. One of the pieces about the timing of this that makes it so perfect is it's so far ahead of the next season. The final game was just 2 days ago. So, by the time the season starts again, the media and the fans and the team will have this all out of their system, and everyone can focus on basketball.
Of course. Sid Ziegler of Outsports.com. Thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you.
And for how this news could affect the Minutemen's recruiting, be sure to keep checking CampusInsiders.com as our Jordan Cornette reveals his thoughts on Derek Gordon. We'll see you next time.
I know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep or have a girlfriend when that's really not your girlfriend, and just to try to impress your friends. I know what all that is like. Nobody should want to live like that. That's a fake way of living, and I'm not a fake person. I want to be real with myself, and be real to the world with who I really am.
Why did you think that this wouldn't happen for a couple of years?
Jason Collins come out, he gave me a lot of inspiration, but just waiting for that next college basketball player to come out, it just never happened, which made me even more depressed, because it's like, it made me start to think that it's not happening no time soon. Like, it's just not. There was times where I just went back to my room and I cried. Like, there was times I cried so much I cried myself to sleep. I never want nobody to feel like that. And it's just because I felt like that I wasn't accepted. Every time I go in the locker room, it's just about girls. I really can't have no input on the conversations that they have. Like, I always stay by myself, and they was always wondering why I was doing that, and that's just because, like, I felt different. We'll come in after practice or a game, and either people will already be in the shower, or they'll see me going back towards the shower and nobody won't go. They whisper amongst themselves and I hear it, and I think that's what started me from distancing myself and not going out with them and just staying to myself, and I didn't even feel like hiding no more, and I had to be confident in myself. I gotta be able to live my life and not have to worry about what people are saying, whether it's good or bad. Like, I can't worry about that because that's not a healthy way of living.
When we talked the day that you came out to your team, I asked you to describe how you felt, and you said that you couldn't. Yeah. You couldn't describe how you felt. Can you describe it now?
These are the guys who you play with every day and joke around with and stuff like that. You gotta see them every day, and I gotta go in there and tell them that I'm gay. I was telling my story, and you could just see a couple of them was getting emotional because I was speaking from my heart. I was telling them how I felt. Some of them knew that they was picking on me over the summer about it, and those was the ones that started feeling bad about it, and it was a couple times I got choked up. Probably that, besides me telling my parents, that was another hardest thing to tell my teammates, but like they was comfortable. Nothing changed when they knew about it. So when I started thinking about that and they didn't treat me any different or anything like that, then I just came to my senses like, all right, well, that came to show that they was accepting of it. But I don't want to look at it as, all right, I'm just gay. I play basketball too, and like, that's all I really want to worry about. It's just more of I'm just coming out so I can just be myself. But I had to look at it, I still play basketball, and that's what I care for the most. I still have a family that I want to provide for and my degree that I want to get, so I don't want my teammates to feel that I'm getting so caught up in the coming out stuff that I'm not really too worried about working out or anything like that. That's not the case at all. Once this is over, just get back to playing the sport that I love, and I just hope that a lot of people will look at my story and be able to get something out of it. Kids shouldn't have to worry about, I'm not going to be accepted into my sport or whatever it may be. I mean, I play at one of the highest levels. I just want to come out to the world and just continue on playing basketball and lead my team this year to another NCAA tournament.
Awesome. That is my good friend, Derek. And as you could see, Derek has been through a lot, and forgiving his teammates, forgiving people that have had said slurs. People have called him the F word on the court. And so I had a chance to speak to Derek and ask him about forgiveness and what would he tell someone who's going through, someone from the LGBT community who's going through that right now, because I really wanted him to be able to inspire you guys. I know a lot of you, a lot of people in the community deal with this, and I really wanted him to give a special piece of advice of what to tell you if you were facing something of the sort. So we'll bring up what he had to say on our conversation.
Well, hello, Karen. I appreciate that. First and foremost, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to write to me. I really appreciate that. Who's ever listening to this, first and foremost, what's up? How you doing? Hope all is well. But we all know. I think people who've come out publicly. We all know that it's not easy to do so. But I will say this: that it was the best decision that I could have ever made. Yet, for me, I had to mentally be strong. Of course, I lost some friends, but they weren't my friends from the get-go. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I live in LA, and in New Jersey, I grew up in a little bit of a tough neighborhood. So of course I was hesitant of that, but at the end of the day, I said, you know what, my happiness is the most important thing, and the fact that I had an idea of the impact that I could have on others, but I didn't realize until after I came out that there were so many people who reached out to me and said, wow, if I didn't hear your story, I probably would have ended my life. And that's what it's all about. I love to inspire others, and I want to inspire you as well, those who are struggling, that it's okay to be your true authentic self. Trust me, there will be a lot of people out there that are going to support you for who you are. And of course, I don't want to go too long on it, but I just feel, I will never force or tell anyone when they should come out, because I feel, everyone has their own timing for that. But like I said, there will be so much weight lifted off your shoulders. You won't have to hide anymore. My family, my mother and father, even my brothers, they accept me, and it's not even an issue at this point in time. But I also was strong enough to realize that, yeah, if it was an issue, if they had an issue with it, I would be okay. Because like I said, you may lose some friends, and that's okay, but you're going to gain thousands of other friends, and people who love you and support you for who you are.
I really love that message. I appreciate that message. I know a lot of us could use that message. So anyone who may be struggling with coming out or forgiveness, or has been teased for who they are and they don't feel like they could live in their own skin, just know that you matter, and that anyone who doesn't accept you isn't your true friend. And speaking of acceptance, someone who I accept and I love, and who is my true friend, and I love him so much. Levi, are you here with me?
Howdy.
Woo! Levi. My my friend, my everything, my favorite trans man ever. I just, yo, I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me. And I just want to dive right into it because we've been talking about forgiveness. And just to give some context so people understand our friendship, and you know how much I've been following you and I love your journey. I could never get enough of Levi, man. And so for those of us who may not know who you are, can you just give us a little window of who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Levi Alexander Love. You can just call me Levi. My pronouns are he and him. And I'm a trans dude from Toronto. For those of you who don't know what like it means to be trans and whatever, it basically just means that you were born one gender at birth. So for me, I was born as a female, but I woke up one day and I was like, LOL, and transition. That's pretty much what happened. And that's why I look like this. So it's essentially it. There's nothing super incredible to it, I guess. It's just more about like along the lines of acceptance, right? It's just about accepting the fact that maybe like, you know, I got a different journey and I got a different life to live than other people. And just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just a part of self-love. That's why I did it. It's just a part of like feeling like, because when I was a girl, I don't know, it just felt very weird. Like I felt like the outcast, like the odd man out in the room, right? And it was very weird. And I was just like, why do I keep feeling this way? What's really going on? Like, why do I keep feeling like weird? And essentially, like one day I was sitting down, I was watching YouTube, and I already came out as a lesbian at one point. And I was like, this name just isn't suiting me. Like, I feel like I was overperforming masculinity, like overperforming, like all this stuff, like performing womanhood, you know what I'm saying? Like performing it. But now as a guy, like, I just feel like I'm living. And I feel like as men, like that's kind of like super important for us to remember is like, I don't know. I feel like I see like a lot of dudes, and I'm not that old, you feel me? But like in my time of living, I've just seen a lot of dudes like performing their manhood. Like they look uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like they really want to be the dudes that are chilling and like, I don't know, playing video games and being normal, but then being pressured by other guys to like get girls and like do this and make sure you get your money up and blah 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 and like aggression and go to the gym. It's like I'm a 5'7" like short dude. Like I I enjoy like, you know, Netflix TV shows. Man, I'm pretty standard, all right? Like this, like I'm not like I can be pretty exciting, okay? But at the same time, like I'm not really like, I don't know, like yeah, I do want to get buffed. I'm not gonna lie, I do want to get ripped. I'm not gonna lie, but like it's not the determining factor of like me being a man. You know what I'm saying? Like my manhood isn't defined on like how I look, because like, you know, God forbid, you know, knock on some wood, you know, what happens tomorrow if I get sick or something? Then I'll never be able to put on pounds again. Am I less of a man then? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. It's just so weird. Like, I don't know, man. It was weird. So coming into this manhood thing, I kind of walked in and I was like, oh my God, I don't know. But I was like, I feel better. So that's a start. And then I just feel like maybe it's not about, you know, maybe it's about designing your own manhood and what manhood looks like for you. So like realizing that manhood is not like not every guy is the same, you know what I'm saying? And every dude is different. And hopefully, you know, thankfully I didn't have to wait till I was like, you know, 60 or 70 to finally realize, hey, it doesn't really matter what the other guy thinks. Like I could just be myself, you know what I'm saying? And that's the plus that I get from transitioning. So yeah, that's essentially me in a nutshell.
You're making me want to. Like, it sounds so exciting. I'm like, I want to. You're making me jealous. No, yeah, like being a woman's tough, man. No, you know, but and seriously, there's something that you said. I remember when I was following you, you were one of your proudest moments, what seems like, is when your voice changed. It was like your voice.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, dude, it was
yo.
Like it was so satisfying to finally like hear my voice drop. I was like, yes. It was just because it was so much. Like hearing my old videos now, like sometimes
when I go back, I'm like,
I don't even want to. Like it's so weird to me. I'm like, 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 oh my God, like it's like I sound like a little kid, like, and I was like 23, like, like I sound like a little kid, like it was really bad. It was a lot going on. So I was like, all
Yeah.
right, whatever. But yeah, when all the hormones kicked in, I just feel a lot more like chill and like a lot more easy. So yeah.
I love it. And I remember there was a powerful moment when you had to pay for your name change. And
Yeah.
it wasn't about the money. I remember you said it wasn't about the money so much. But I
Yeah.
think when you paid for the legal papers, like for me, like when I had the legal divorce and name, there's something very permanent about it or
Yeah.
very real about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there ever a time, like I remember when you were talking about that, any reluctance when it was coming real? Was there any like, oh shit, like this is real, there's no turning back?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like
Yo.
I don't know how far back you went, but I remember doing a story about and I was sitting on the kitchen floor at my friend's house, and it was like my first month on hormones or second month on hormones or so. And I remember just like feeling like so sad, like shit, like I don't even like, am I doing the right thing? You know, and sometimes I still think that, but I know for certain if I lived my life as the way I was born and the way the doctor said, then like I would have probably ended my life by now. Like I was really depressed, like really, really depressed, and really just feeling like even like I don't know how many are from like Toronto or whatever, but I'm from Toronto and we have this place called like CAMH, and essentially it's like a mental health check-in center. And so I went there one time back in 2016 when I had like my first suicide, like sort of suicide attempt. I was caught in the act of trying. And then my ex called the ambulance and, you know, like got me there and stuff like that. And I remember spending a night in the psych ward. It's a scary ass place.
No, you're like, I'm not doing this again. Like,
no, like it wasn't,
I'm good.
it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But like, I remember like they wanted to test me for borderline personality disorder. And they wanted to test me for bipolar 2 or some things like that. And then I remember going back like during my transition, it was about 6 months in. And I remember I had another like bout of depression. So I went back just to make sure I'm good and try to check myself in if anything, you know, was going to go off and stuff. Cause I realized that I was capable of doing stuff like that. And like they're basically, like it just seems very situational. Like it doesn't seem like it's something that the depression is something that's in you anymore. It's kind of like because of what's happening right now, you're sad. Right. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and they were telling me like, yeah, you don't even have any symptoms anymore. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like okay. Thinking to myself, like maybe the reason was like, there was like a chemical imbalance, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Or something like off with me, like hormonally or whatever. Cause now I feel better. Like I feel like I have much more control of my emotions. And I feel like I have like a wider range of them. It's not just like anger and like extreme sadness. It's like, there's anger and then there's like joy and then there's like happy. And then there's like, maybe I'm kind of happy. And then today I'm feeling melancholy. And like, there's like a variety of emotions. It's not just like one thing anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that was like really beautiful to really see that. So I don't know. Low key, I kind of feel like high key, I feel like I needed to do this. It wasn't just like something that I just wanted to do because the kids are doing it. Like it's more because like I genuinely feel like if I didn't, then yeah.
And you know what I love about that, what you said is, I think that goes for anything in life that we do. Like even when I got this condo, did I do the right thing? Like we question every big change. Exactly. I like the way you said it was situational. It's not like, right. Another thing I love what you do so much is you keep on repeating, even on when, you know, when you and I are always talking, you always bring up whoever's listening, just like Derek Gordon, when he's talking to me, you do the same thing. Get therapy. You reinforce that, man. I mean, I know why you do it, but can you explain why you always remind people?
Yeah. So therapy is everything. Everything. I think that every single person on the planet could use a therapy session. Just one, even just one, just to make sure you're okay. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying earlier about maintenance, not just going to the doctor when you feel sick, going to the doctor just because you haven't been in a while. You just want to make sure that there's nothing brewing. You know what I'm saying? Like just to maintain, you know, we shouldn't only go to the mechanics when our car breaks down. We should go to the mechanics for regular oil changes and so on and so forth. Same thing with your emotional health and with your mental health, right? It's, in my opinion, it's super important. For me, it was really important for me before I transitioned was to have a therapist so that I'm not transitioning because of the sexual abuse I faced, or I'm not transitioning because of all these different things. I'm transitioning because it's genuinely something that I want to do outside of everything else. And outside of being trans and stuff, like just for my own emotional well-being, like it was mad important to me to start seeing a therapist and making sure I'm talking through my emotions. Because sometimes, you know, when I'm in my head, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just in your head, you're just in the moment and like everything is so big in that moment. And then it's like when you throw all those things onto another person that's trained and qualified to help you sort through it, it's like really important. Like they'll kind of give you a perspective, like, because they're not emotionally attached to the thing that you are going through, right? Or the thing that I was going through. So I felt like it was important to have like a non-biased opinion. And now mind you, my therapist will always be biased. Your therapist will always be biased because they're in your corner. However, they also have the side where they're like, okay, because I'm in your corner, I'm going to show up for you and tell you when I think you're misstepping, or I think you may have the wrong idea about the same situation. Like, here's what I'm seeing from the situation. And then it kind of broadens my mind. So like I was saying before, it's not just like a short range of emotions. It's not just a short range of perspectives. It's a grand range of perspectives where it's like, you know, something that seems so big, it's not the only thing that's happening in my life right now. There are several other good things that are happening too, or several other bad things, whatever. Like, there's just other things as well. So I'm not obsessing over like this situation. Like, I can move forward. You know what I mean? And that's why I really encourage therapy, because sometimes we get clogged up, I find, right? And like with therapy, it just feels like they're just like helping you plunge out your system so that you can just pass everything throughly. So it's not just stuck in you, you know, because you get that rage and that anger stuck in you. It's like, that's why maybe that's why dudes get all aggressive. Maybe that's why, because shit's just stuck. You know, you just need to move, you need to do stuff, you need to be, because, you know, we face trauma from the transatlantic slave trade to police brutality. Like, we face trauma all the time from, you know, other guys in the neighborhoods calling us sissy or feminine or whatever, or faggots or whatever the case may be, like doing all that kind of stuff, like not being able to explore, even if we're gay or not, explore if we may be into that. We're not even able to explore that because the mere idea of being gay would just be like, oh, no, we don't do that thing, you know, like it's a weird, like, shut off thing rather than just allowing you to explore and be. So that's why I always encourage therapy, because I'm like, yo, you have somebody talking to you, and it'd be even better if you had like a black dude, since you're a black guy, having a black dude talk to you who's worked through his toxic masculinity, who's worked through his shit, and now he's willing to help you get out of that too. You know what I mean? Because there's much more to life than bravado and, oh, I get beer yelled at. Like, it's more to life than that. You know what I'm saying? It's more to life than just getting money. Like, how are you doing on a Sunday at 3:02 p.m. when you're just chilling and there's no work, there's no lawn to be mowed, no bed to be made, no kid to go to school, you're just chilling, just you. How are you by yourself? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, that was so bad when you just said Sunday at 3:02, just chilling. Like, you know, there was something else you said that was so key. Oh, that part that you said about like, we're good now, therapy. And that's what I love about Roots Community Services, the free therapy for Black men. Like, we really want to remind you guys that are listening, and just like Levi said, it's free. Shane's Black, he's a man. Like, it doesn't get better than that. You said something else where what was it you said once? Don't put your trauma, like when you're not good, when you're not good, don't put it on someone else.
Oh yeah, that's just lazy.
It's not that deep. That's just lazy.
Like, it's just lazy. Like, no, but on a more empathic note, it's just really disrespectful to people to like completely bombard somebody else with your pain, unless they've told you they've allocated space for you to do that. Like, because we all need to vent, we all need to get things off our chest. But I think in that particular moment, I don't remember exactly what I meant when I said that to you, but I remember when you say it, it reminds me of something that I would say. And in this moment, what I would say is like, yo, I think it's mad important for you to just find healthy ways to like release that anger and release that sadness and that pain that you might be feeling. Because I don't know, I just feel like, for me, from my experience, I've seen like a lot of dudes like just go through pure relationships after relationships after relationships. I hear a lot of things about like, you know, men not being able to like really express ourselves and like be ourselves in situations, even around our guy friends throughout this pandemic. Like, we were realizing that we need deeper, more meaningful friendships, because we just play ball, go to the bar, and then we don't have nothing to talk about. And now that everything was closed, it's like we ain't got no friends, and now we're sad, you know. And instead of like working through our stuff to be able to be free to talk to people and be with people, like, we did it. And I feel like we lose out on a lot of life if we don't learn to just pass things through us, you know. And like constantly using different vices and shit to like get through our pain. Like, I mean, it works temporarily. I'm not going to tell you not to smoke or not to drink. I'm not going to say that to you, because maybe that's what you need in the immediate, and I respect that. But long term, if you are ready to think about it, I really encourage therapy, man. I really encourage not blasting on your other friends or blasting on your girl, like going to your therapist, right? And just like blasting on him or blasting on her or whoever it is, and like releasing that. Like it's, I don't know, it's just really important to release. That's just what I really think about that. And
everything you say is like, we could just take in all this that you're saying, you know, about, you said about mental health, you said stuff about there about self-care. And what I loved is when you said, if that's what you need to do, if that's the shit you need to do, then do that. But it always comes back to, we just want to remind men not to stay there.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Just not to stay there. Exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm not gonna say to you like, oh, don't do it. Like, I don't know, because I just feel like if you need it right now, like I'm not gonna have you suffer. Like, so do what you need to do. But like when you're at a better place, you know, I really encourage you to avoid going back into that deep place again. Find somebody to talk to, you know what I mean? Even if it's like a community support person or whatever, just somebody you can grab on the phone call with if you don't want to go in person, or, you know, go online, like whatever, just grab a call with somebody, you know what I'm saying? And just talk through your shit.
Just talk through. Can we, I'm just gonna write that in the chat. Talk through your shit. I love it. And or talk through your shit. Or better yet, talk to Shane at Roots. That's
100%.
Thank you, Levi. I love you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. I value our friendship. I value your insight. I just value you in my life. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anytime. Love you, babesy. I love you. That being said, Levi said so much and Dr. Lauren said so much. And I want to always leave you guys with some tools and resources that we talked about for men's health. And Omar, we see you and we love you and your comment, and we'll make sure that you have the resources you need with Shane. And we also want to leave off with some self-care tips. We never want to leave you without anything. And Michael, I agree. Michael, Levi's like next level, I know. Levi's something else. He's amazing. So we're going to just go over some quick self-care before we sign off, because I never want to just leave you without tools. So we'll go through that, because self-care, what we talked about with forgiveness, comes from within, like Dr. Lawrence said. So we'll bring up that slide of self-care. And this comes from my book, A Fresh Start. And for those of you who have it, I believe it comes from page 96. And I want to leave you with these tools so that you could have them, so that you understand that self-care isn't just the spa and massages and sitting in a bed of flowers. So I have an acronym from my book that I want to leave with you guys. And self-care, so the S, I always say that the S stands for saying no. And when we say no, that's saying yes to us. So saying no to others is saying yes to us. So men, when you get whoever it is, I don't know, your wife, your girlfriend, your mother asking you to do this and do that and mow the lawn and pick this up at whatever, it's okay to say no. I can't not do it at this time. I will get back to you later. If you need that time for yourself, for your mental wellness, saying no is a part of self-care. The E in self-care is for exercising. And as Dr. Lawrence was talking about, staying fit is a part of self-care, whether that's taking a brisk walk, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's using your home gym. Self-care, exercise is key. And the L in self-care is always coming from logging off. Logging off is L. When you log off and you disconnect, you have no idea how much internal cleansing you could do, like Levi was talking about, just cleansing. So L is for log off. Of course, not logging off when you're with me, you stay on with me, but after that we log off. And then the F is for finances. When your finances are in order, your mind is in order. When your finances are in order, your mind is in order. And the C is for commitment. When you commit to making change, commit to calling Shane at Roots, commit to getting the help that you need, commit to those things that you're scared to do, but you heard tonight that you need to do, make that commitment to do so. And the A is for affirmations. As you guys know, every month we go over our affirmations together. And I'm so proud of all of the men that message me and Shane that you're going over your affirmations. Those are key when you say I love myself, I am worthy, I am valuable. And the R in self-care is for relax. We always love it when you get that time to relax. Like Levi was saying at 3:02 on a Sunday, just relax. That's key to self-care. And the E in self-care is for eat well. I know sometimes it's really easy just to get our pizza in 30 minutes and or whatever it is, but it's really important to eat well. That's so important for Black men to eat well. It's very prominent, diabetes and heart disease. And when we eat well, we live well. So we want to make sure that we're always doing that. So remember that acronym if you can, men. And if you put those things in practice, I guarantee that you're going to feel a lot better. That being said, also, I want to remind you if we could bring back up Shane's slide and we could take a picture of that, because that is a part of self-care by calling Shane and talking to him and setting up your appointment. That is your first step towards self-care. And for all of you who already have, I applaud you. For those of you who want to, you're free to do so. That is complimentary. Roots has other programs as well in the Black Men Speak Up program. We have other big things coming for you for the summer, so always look out for that. Shane is my go-to guy. We all need somebody. Shane is an expert in his field. He covers so many topics, and I just encourage you. You don't have to say your name if you just want to have a chat. You don't even have to put your video on. Just give Shane a call. Also, what I want to do is we always end off with an affirmation. Thank you, Nellie. I love you. Very powerful. I really appreciate you, Nellie, and really proud of all the work that you've done over the years that I've known you. I'm really proud of you. Thank you, Nellie. As you all know, that we always end off with an affirmation from my book, my other book, Shame Over. So the self-care is from Fresh Start. And we're going to now dive into Shame Over. I chose 3 affirmations for this episode just for you. So for those of you who have it, that comes from the self-care affirmations for men. And I chose, which ones did I choose? Let's bring up that slide to see which ones I chose today. Oh, I love these ones. These ones are nice. That one comes from affirmation number 17 and a couple others. My sexual orientation does not define my worth. I forgive those who have harmed me in the past. I am a confident, capable, and competent father. My sexual orientation does not define my worth. I forgive those who have harmed me in the past. I am a confident, capable, and competent father. Those 3 affirmations are really ones that I want you guys to focus on, whichever one pertains to you. You can choose some from the book, choose some from here, choose some of your own. I just want to remind you that you're loved. But like Dr. Lawrence has said, it comes from within first, right? Self-love comes from within first. And also, I want to thank the production team, if you could bring up your slide, because you really make this place a safe place. Everything is technology these days, and without technology, we're not able to come together. So I thank you, I love you, I appreciate you, I acknowledge you, and I value you. Thank you so much. And if you could bring up my slide so people know where they can get a hold of me, I'm here for you as well. You could visit my website, and you could always subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter is where we send out some communications about the program. Roots website is where you could find information about the program. We send you guys out things each week on in your email about Black Men Speak Up. So check your emails. That comes from Roots, comes from the newsletter. Go to their website, stay informed, stay connected. We're going to have some different formats this summer, so make sure you're in the loop. We don't want to miss absolutely any one of you Black men. Know that you're loved and that we're here for you. And also don't forget, we're going to reach out to the winner for the Father's Day gift card. We want to acknowledge you as well. And so I just want to thank Roots Community Services. Thank you to all the panelists that come every month. I see you, Dylan and Crooks and Nellie and everyone who's been a panelist. Michael, I love you. Omar, I love you. I'm just going down the line to say that, let's see here. David, thank you so much for being here, David. Kaiten, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Carol, Natasha, it was so good having you here, girl. Thank you. And your comments, I appreciate you. Dylan, you know how I feel about you. And Sandra Thompson, thank you. Colin, Narissa, it's so good to have you here. Randy, I appreciate you. And Terrence and Karen Bailey, I don't want to miss anybody. Karen Ann, Jordan, and Kendra, I love you, girl. Thank you. Isaiah and Shane and Emily and Janine, Natalie and Christopher and Adeline and John, Yvonne. So many of you here today. Althea, thank you for being with us. And Steve and two Steves here today. Angela, I appreciate you. Jonathan Shaw, you know how I feel about you from the bottom of my heart. And Natalie and Francis and Candy and Angela and Junior. I don't want to miss anyone. I see some people's cell phones and I don't see your names, but I do see you as a person. We appreciate you. Not only do we appreciate the Black men, we also appreciate everyone who comes on and supports and coming and hearing these stories so that you can go back to your community, to your friends and family and share what you've heard. And I'm a true believer of sharing these stories about pride, fatherhood, Black men, mental health, health overall. Once we empower our Black men to speak up and be vulnerable, our community becomes stronger. So that is it for our Black Men Speak Up. We're just going to, it's going to end here. If you have any questions, don't forget to contact Roots, contact Shane. We love you. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Let's play Levi's song as we go out. Let's give it a bit of Levi's song. That would make, that's peaceful. Guys, Levi's song, Hot Cocoa.
I know thoughts fill you in the night time. So come share your good mornings with me. Ooh, you look so tired. Come lay down in the bed I have made alive. Come let me wrap my arms around you, yeah, yeah. Let your mouth make no sound. 'Cause even while you're quiet, I can still hear you, yeah. You are never left out. So come sip this hot cocoa with me. You are not alone. Come sit right here next to me. You are not alone. Come take my hand if you please. You are not alone. Rest your body next to me. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. No, no, no. And I know mornings can feel so cold. Let my heart be your heater. And I know words can scar your soul. Let my love be your healer. And I know morning